There we go. And we are live somewhere. Yes. Episode 125. And it's very quiet here, actually. We'll see. It's a special time. First of all, Monday was Easter holiday in a lot of places.
Yep.
And Philip, you are coming from Australia now, so the timing was a bit funny. So we will do this
Yep.
special special recording. Uh, whoop. There we go. Um, anyway, so we are live, and a few news before we get to the main topic of the day is the Quarkus Dev UI. Is that the Quarkus 3 core artifact has been built today. So that doesn't mean Quarkus 3 will be available now, but now is starting the next 2 or 3 weeks where we are getting all the extensions that are outside Quarkus core to be built and included into the what's it called, the Quarkus main platform. So Quarkus 3 is close, very close. And one of the big features that's in Quarkus 3 is new and shiny Dev UI, which is why we have Philip here. So Philip, you've been here a few times, but introduce yourself, and the stage is yours.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, I'm Philip. I've I usually work on GraphQL and OpenAPI, and then recently also Dev UI. Um, yeah, I think that's. I don't know what more to say. I'm now in Australia. Yeah, so it's 11 o'clock at night here. Everybody's asleep. Um,
Good.
cool. So should we just go for it?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so I have kind of a high level idea of what I want to show and talk about, but yeah, so I have no real presentation or anything. We're just gonna go through some stuff. So what I've done is I've built an app with a few extensions, and that's running already on my machine. And this is the normal page that you usually see. And if you click here, you go to the Dev UI, and you'll see now you'll get to the new Dev UI.
Sorry,
So,
I forgot to share the screen.
oh, okay.
So maybe roll back at 2 seconds and we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, so you usually see the screen if you go to localhost 8080, and if you click there, you'll go to your Dev UI, which now is the new Dev UI. Because the new Dev UI is not 100% ported yet, there's a few extensions that still needs to port, and some of the Quarkus extensions still needs to port, and some of the features inside Dev UI itself. I'll mention some of those as we go. We still have the old Dev UI running as well, and we've added a link to the top here that will still take you back to the old Dev UI. So this is still running and still working. But at some point in a future release, it will be totally removed once all the features has been moved over. Right, so the main difference between this Dev UI and the other one on a high level is the layout has changed a little bit. So we now have the sections menu that we didn't have. In the previous one, we only had these cards in the middle and the bottom log and continuous testing. And these cards was initially supposed to be showing your extensions, but it started getting other things in there, so got a bit messy. So with the new one, we decided to rather have this section menu on the side here. So now we have extensions under extensions, and then we have some other sections which I'll go through a bit later. And then what we also have is that you now have, like we used to have this always, so you have your card like the arc extension. And if I click on beans, I can see all the beans, but then I used to have to go back here to click on, let's say, observers, where now we have the sub menu that will automatically appear with all the links. So you can kind of page through them without having to get back to your card here.
Very cool.
This
So by the way,
this
so
also
just so you know, so right now the stream is not live. There's something wrong with the stream. But I suggest that
oh
we just go through and record this
Okay.
You publish it as is.
Okay, no problem.
But yeah, something is wrong with the
If
review, but we'll see.
Okay, if you want to restart, that's also fine.
Yeah, but no, like there's an issue going on. So
Okay.
I think we
Oh, I
just
see. Okay.
record and we'll take the stream and publish it. And
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
Okay. So the other thing that this does automatically for you is it will add all the pages to a router. So you'll see that the URL on top here will also change accordingly. With the difference being that this is not making a server call and do a full page reload like the old Dev UI. This is all a single page app. And this happens automatically. So as an extension developer, you don't have to do anything. It will just do that for you, which means bookmarking and history and back and all of those will work because it's just a URL. So the other thing that has changed in terms of the layout, so apart from that you have these menus, you still have the log at the bottom like you used to have, but now you can add to it, where previously we didn't have the functionality to be able to add to it. So you'll see that we have a few other tabs here. An extension can contribute to this log, like the schedule extension here has got a scheduler log. This log here, the Dev UI log, you'll only see if you're running against 999 snapshot, because it's only really valuable for an extension developer. So when you run a normal released version, this won't show. I'll get to testing a bit later. All the other functionality is still there, like you can change the log levels and yeah,
just for
decide
the
what you want to
recording,
see.
can you show the light theme, because the dark theme is a bit
Yes.
actually hard to see.
Yes, I can. I actually want to show that as well. So actually, let's talk about the theme. The other thing that we've added is the ability to do a theme. So at the moment, this is set to my desktop theme, which is dark, but you can set it to light or dark. So overriding the desktop. So we'll keep it light for the demo, right? Because that's better.
That is better, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the theme. I'll also, if we get to it, show that it's quite easy to take part in the theme. If you write an extension, you don't really have to do anything. There's a few CSS variables that you can use, but yeah, for the most part, you don't have to do much.
Is there, besides the extendability of more flexible like component layout, is there any new features in the Dev UI, or have we just kind of ported things over for now?
Yeah, for now it's mostly ported over. There might be small things that has been enhanced, but yeah, for the most part, it's just been ported. Like for instance, the scheduler log is new. Just yeah, but not apart from that, not much. Yeah, I don't think not as far as I know, at least.
Okay.
I can't think of anything. But yeah, the main idea was to just do a port initially and then start with newer features as we go. And this new Dev UI also allow much more newer or things easier to actually do things. So what I also wanted to mention is that now if you click on this logo here, the Dev UI, it will actually go back like you want it. But what it actually does is it just makes a call to the server. So if you've made changes and you're expecting a hot reload, like typically you would, if you have a REST endpoint and you make changes, you hit that REST endpoint to activate those changes. But you might be working in something that you want to activate this change, not, you just want to activate the hot reload. Then clicking here will actually activate the hot reload and then take you to the main page.
When you say hot reload, is the front end or the back end, or
Both?
Both. Okay.
So I'm busy coding. I've made a change that will cause a hot reload as soon as an endpoint's been hit. You're just hitting that endpoint when you click here.
Okay, got it.
So it'll trigger that hot reload. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it from a layouts point of view. In terms of the log, some small things that you might not know, obviously you can change it. It will remember where you were. So if you like your log there and you close it and you open it again, it will still be there. And next time you come in, it will still be there. You can double click here, it will still open. So you can open with double click. It's got a snap close. So once you get close to the bottom, it will just snap close automatically. Yeah, and then these buttons here, for instance, if you build your own, let's say your extension wants to take part in this log, it's very easy to actually get these buttons because these buttons are actually not part of your component because your component sits in the middle here, but you can contribute to this, and it's very easy. So if there's time, I'll probably show that.
Yeah.
What else did I wanted to show? Okay, so this is pretty much the same as what we had. So yeah, you can see the pages here. These links here is by default the links that you'll see. The label here could be dynamic and could be streaming. So as an example, if the maintainers of, let's say, the scheduler or, I don't know, the cache wants to stream to a label here, how many times the cache has been hit or how many times the schedule has been executed or whatever, something, then it's also possible now to stream data to this label. It's also possible to provide your own custom card because this card has been built for you. You, as an extension developer, you don't have to do anything. You just get this. But if you want to customize it, you can. So if we go to config, for instance, which we also had in the old Dev UI, obviously, you can still make changes. You can filter, so it's easy to find anything. So whatever, let's say, open API, you'll find whatever you want. You can also make a change here. So if I just change the name to 2 and I click enter, this will actually also trigger a reload, a hot reload, which has happened. If I go back here, the hot reload has happened. This line here is where the hot reload happened. So the reload has happened and the screen has been updated. You can even see that the title of the page has been updated. And there was no refresh of the page. I didn't have to go refresh here. The reason why we don't want to refresh here is because every time I refresh here, I break a WebSocket connection, which is part of one of the issues with the old Dev UI is that we use WebSockets to stream the log. We use WebSockets to stream the state of the continuous testing. And every time that you refresh, you break that. And every time that an extension makes a call to the backend to full server call and return, then it breaks that stream. But yeah, so you can update this. We can update it back, and it'll go back. And you can see that the screen itself also updates on hot reload, and I'll show a few more examples on that.
So when you say that, but that's just for the Dev UI that the connection gets broken, right? So if you're an end user app, if you go outside Dev UI and use your app, that doesn't conflict with those two things. They're separate, right?
Yeah, that's separate. But what I mean by breaking is because the browser refreshes, because it's a browser refresh, it's like a new connection. So anything that you had open that was streaming is going to be closed. So what we had to do in the old Dev UI is we have to kind of keep a small history so that we can restore state.
Yeah.
Or we have to have all these footwork to be able to restore state and the state gets broken all the time. Like even if in the old one, if you go here and you say, can you refresh the cache? That would make a full page call. If you go anyway, reset, a lot of these was just full blown pages that the whole page gets refreshed. So it breaks your connection. Where now everything that we do is going over WebSockets. So even if any action that you do on the page is a call over WebSocket. I'll get to that a bit later.
Cool. So the end user result is that this will like feels snappier, and you don't have
Yeah,
to wait for reload or scroll back and up and down and all this
yeah,
thing.
or reload, or yeah.
Yeah.
What you'll also see as an example, if I, not this one, well, this one we can actually say enable auto reload. So this is my actual application properties, and you can see, I guess I should zoom a bit.
Yeah, please.
You can see that that's where I've kind of continuously changed this in the front end. So I changed it here. But what I want to do is I want to, let's say we can remove,
Can you zoom in again a bit? Yeah.
yeah. So I'm going to remove this scheduler. And the scheduler here is this card here. So if I'll just comment it out and save. And what you'll see in the corner here that it starts flickering like red and orange, because now the server actually does a full restart now, right?
Yeah, because of the
And
20. Yeah.
now it's reconnected. But in terms of my WebSocket is just kind of saying, oh, I've lost connection, and then it connects again. And then as soon as it connects again, what did I comment out? Why did my scheduler not disappear? Oh,
Demo effect.
yeah. That's weird, because did I? Okay. This card should have disappeared. I'll check now why it didn't. I'll try another one just now. Let's do health. But there might be an issue.
Oh, there's two schedulers.
Oh, that might be. So, okay.
That's why.
Where's the other one?
You had one just below, one up and one below. Well, you said that what it looked like, but maybe not.
Oh, maybe it. No, I don't think so.
All right. Well,
Let's see. It should update. No, there's something. Oh, there it worked. So it removed the health one. So I don't know why I didn't. Because I've kind of used. So now the health card is gone. I wanted to show scheduler specifically because it also has a log here.
yeah.
Let me actually just try scheduler again. So if we do that, so as soon as it goes green again, the scheduler should disappear. It doesn't. Okay. Something is broken already. I'll check it out after this. But yeah, so the idea is that as you add extensions, the screen will also update automatically. So if you add an extension, the card will just pop up, and if you remove one, it will just disappear again. Let me just add this again because I want to show some stuff there later. So that's the two hot reloads. So I've shown the hot reload from a config change, and then obviously also adding an extension. But also if your app triggers a hot reload for some or other reason, it would know about it in Dev UI, and it will, as an extension developer, you can react to that hot reload, which I'll show a bit later. And then the other screen is this continuous testing. So my continuous testing isn't running, so you can start it from here. It also now has a testing log file, which is basically just taking the log file and filtering it to only show test-related output. You might like this new bar at the bottom, Max. But yeah, you can see that all my tests is passing, and we can break a test. So I'll just do this and click save, and then you can see that the screen updates automatically. You can see in the log that it broke. You can also see it here, so you can see what the actual problem is, and then you can fix it again. So
yes, I'm just curious. What happens when I have 10K tests or 20? Does it scroll down, or what does that? What happens?
yeah, it should scroll down to basically the bottom here, and then this will be scrollable. Right, so we have this at the bottom. This is in the middle, scrollable. Don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, that's the layout. What else? Yeah, dev services, not much there, pretty much the same as what we had. Build metrics, there's still a missing feature here where in the old one, we had that D3 diagram of the relationships of the build. No, it wasn't a D3 one. It was the one that showed the time. So I must still do that one. And similarly, actually in Arc, you could see the beans. You had a button here where you can click and see the relationship of the beans. So that was a D3 diagram that still needs to be ported over. We have started porting some of them over. So if you look at this REST Easy Reactor, for instance, this endpoint scores that you used to have, that's now a new one. This is using Apache eCharts, which is quite a cool library for stuff like this. And it's the same one I'm using here. So this is also an eChart.
Very cool.
And yeah, build metrics. And then, yeah, I think we'll explore the rest as I talk about actually taking part. So as an extension developer. So this was more from a user's point of view. How does it look like? Probably not at this point too much difference, but hopefully we empower extension developers to actually start contributing to this more. So let's start looking at it from the perspective of an extension developer and what is the changes or differences. So what I'll do is I'll start off by just showing this OpenAPI one, because that's the most basic way in which you can participate in this. The OpenAPI really just have 3 links that is links to another application. This is a YAML file that you can download, the actual schema document in both JSON or YAML, and then you have Swagger UI. So previously we would have, in the old Dev UI, we would have given a snippet of a Qt template that has these links in. In the new Dev UI, what you can do is, let's see, is this big enough? How do I zoom?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So in the new one, you would you will have a build item called cart page build item. You'll obviously only do this if it's development, and then you add pages to that cart. So this cart build item is basically this cart on the board here. And then you add pages to this cart. And you can add pages to a cart, you can add pages to a menu, and you can add pages to a footer. And a page is really just the thing that you will go to. Like, I'll add a page that says this link goes to that page, or this is a page that says this link goes to this page. Right. So I added 3 pages basically, and these are the 3 pages. 1, 2, 3. Schema YAML. It's just a URL. So what I said here is I'm going to use an external page builder, which is really just saying I'm linking to something else. There's a few options here, which we'll speak about. Most is just using this web component page builder. So what we use under the covers is web components, which if you don't know what web components is, it's a W3C standard that allows you to build components. You don't need anything for it. It's part of the spec, which means if there's a browser, you can use it. It does give you encapsulation, so you can, within your component, you can style the component and you can use variables and JavaScript without stepping on anybody's toes, which is also nice. Because in the old Dev UI, we also had this concept of every extension that builds their part that eventually gets merged into one HTML, but we could step on each other's toes.
Yeah.
But for now, you don't have to do anything. If you just want links, you don't have to care about the actual front-end code. You can just say, I have this, and this is a link. I can hint it because this URL doesn't tell me much, so I can hint it and say this is YAML. If you don't do this, we'll just figure it out automatically. And if I go here, if I go back here, you'll see if I click on the YAML link, it gives me the format, the markup in a YAML, and similarly in JSON. And then you can download it, which means I actually go directly to that link. And then the Swagger UI, you can also now, we just embed it. You don't have to embed. As an example, this one here, we just go to a link.
Okay.
So that's the easiest way to take part in, because this is it. It's just this Java code that says, these are the links that I want on my card.
Yeah. So in the old way, you had a Qt template where you
Yep.
build the whole
Yeah,
thing.
Qt template.
Here we're basically
Yeah.
just saying, build this statically typed
Yeah.
object, and then we will turn it into something. Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, if you want to do anything more, there's a few things that you can do. And I've built this.
What about before? I know a question now. Like, is it still possible to use Qt for the rendering of parts of it?
Yeah.
Or yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's where I'm getting at next, is that I've built this jokes extension, which is available. You can go play with it, just to show all these options. So the options that I've shown here, these builders. So there's a Qt data page builder, there's a raw data page builder, a table data page builder, and then the web component page builder. So those, apart from the web component one, the other ones are basically, here's the raw table one. So basically the raw table is just, raw data is just dumping the data that you have, which could be a plain object, as long as it's marshable into JSON. We will just dump the JSON. Table, we'll just create a table, and you'll see that for table, let me actually just grab a file here quickly. I don't have this open in an IDE, but you see, how do I zoom here?
Zoom in a little bit. Yeah. Cool.
So this is the jokes extension. You'll see there I'm adding the raw data as just this raw page data, which I just, again, give an icon. And then I give it this build time data, which is just this data that I've added. So we have this concept of build time data, which is data that's available on build time, or that's been generated on build time, or you already know about it on build time. You can pass that along to the front end screen by doing this. So you'll just say add build time data, you give it a key and a value, and then you pass the build time data that you want to show. So if I would want to dump raw data, this is the data that I'm going to dump, the ones that I've added there. If I want to add it to a table, this is what I'm going to dump, the data, and these are the columns that I want to show. Or if I didn't specify any columns, it will just show make columns of all the data. The Qt one is a bit more interesting, because here I will actually provide a template. So the data, actually all data, because you can add multiples of these. So you can have many add build time datas, and all the keys will be available for your Qt template to render. So this is the option. And if I go back here I've started adding a bit more. I can do some more with it.
Cool.
And then the last one is then the web components one, which I'll talk a bit more as we go, because that's the one that we use more. Just because that's the one that you can do much more with. So what I wanted to show, so as an example, the build time data is also available on your web component front end that you've built. So again, to add it, you just say add build time data. This is the arc example. Let me zoom a bit. So this is building this page here. The beans, we already know this information on build time. So in the code here, I'm basically building the page, which is just, again, an icon. But now I give it a component link, which is saying this is where my component is at, which I'll show just now. And you also see that I add a static label. This is where like I've mentioned earlier, you can add a dynamic or a streaming label. And this means that you pass in a method that will stream data to that label. In our case, our label is just this label here, 72. This is not changing, so it's a static label. But this data here is available for you. So if you've seen that I've added this data called beans, if I go to the actual front end of this, which I can zoom as well somehow. Let's do this. So this is using, like I said, web components. We're using lit because lit's just giving me an easy way to build a component. It gives me an easy way to use templating. So I have HTML templating to build some piece of front end. And then we use Varden components. So not Varden as in the Java side of Varden, but the Varden component set, which is a web components UI set that they have. So they give you a grid and a whole bunch of things, which is it's quite a good set of components. I've evaluated quite a lot of these UI components, and they were quite good.
Yeah. And the great thing, and this is what you've said before, if you for some reason want to have a page that uses another component set, you can now, but as long as it's web component compatible, right? So you could use
yeah.
I know we talk like rich faces is something
the
old
Patternfly.
Patternfly, yeah. Rich faces is very old name. Use Patternfly, which also is coming out with web components.
Patternfly elements,
yeah,
Patternfly elements. So I did play with that, and probably in the future we might start using some of the Patternfly elements. But you can see here that I've imported beans from build time data. So basically that's the key that you gave it here, this beans here. And now these beans are now the actual as in a JavaScript object that you can just use in your code. So somewhere here I would now say if the beans are there, if there are any beans, then now I just put it in my Varden grid and I just render it. So this is just available for you. You don't have to make a server call or anything because it's build time data. So there's no need for a server call. You just import it directly. Cool. So that's build time data. If we go to runtime data, this is where I'll probably use the scheduler example. So the scheduler, if we go back here, the scheduler here uses runtime data not only to show the schedulers, so to go and get the schedulers, but also to execute. So I can execute a specific cron job if I want to manually, or I can pause the scheduler or resume the scheduler. So I have actions that I do, and I have data that I want, and I have streaming actually, because I also stream this log, which we spoke about already. So if we look at the code for that, so this is the processor. We'll see that we just build a page and we add a component. So this page is the methods page, the one we've seen just now. And then we add a footer. So the footer works pretty much the same way. You just have card page build item and you have a footer page build item, right? And then you have a menu page build item if you want to contribute to the menu here. So they kind of follow the same pattern. If we start off with the actual page here, we just added this web component, which is this one here. Now I have this thing called JSON RPC. Now, actually, let me show that first. So the other thing that you now need is something that's going to provide this data during runtime. So you have this build step that you add where you say this class here is going to be the class that's going to provide me data on runtime. This is my JSON RPC provider, and this class here is just a class.
So just because you're jumping around very quickly, so right now you're in the scheduler code base on the Java side in the Quarkus component.
Yeah.
And that build item is saying, hey, I want to provide a JSON provider which can be hooked up in my client side, which is where you were before, which was the JavaScript file.
Sorry, I jumped too early. I jumped too early to the front end side. Sorry. I wanted to show this first. So maybe I should take another step back. Is that Like I've said, all communication from the client to the server happens with JSON RPC. JSON RPC is just a message format, actually. So this is actually a combination of JSON RPC plus WebSockets. However, as a developer, extension developer, you don't have to care too much about it. You don't have to worry to open a WebSocket connection, to format a message so that it's JSON RPC. And I'll show you how you just use it, because we do all the work in the background. So this part here is just to say these are the pages that I want to build. This here we only have one page that we add, and we have one footer that we add. And this is what you see here. This is the footer and this is the page. But now I also need to say, I don't have any build time data here, but I also have data that's available on runtime, which is what this part is here. That's saying I want to stream data, or I want to provide data over JSON RPC, and this class here is the one that's going to do, provide the data. This is just a class. You don't even have to add application scope. If you want to scope it, you can. Otherwise, we'll make it application scope. And all that it has any method that returns data on here. Any public method that returns data will be available on the front end. So this won't be, because they're all void, but they're all just observers that actually just streams to something. So here you can see stream log, for instance. Stream log, well, in this case, uses a JSON object. You can just use a plain old Java object. We will make it a JSON object. But I'm using just a normal multi from Mutiny. So now I can just add to this log at any time, like we do here. You can see I do an on next here, and that will just stream down to the server. The important part here is this name here. The method name is stream log, and it returns a multi. And then I have another multi that streams some status. And then I have just a plain method that, again, this could have been an object. We would make a JSON object, and there's one called get data. It's a non-blocking method. This just gets some data. I have one called pause scheduler, resume scheduler, pause job, passing in something. So this is just methods that does something. The important part, like I said, is the method name. If we go back to the front end now, right, so now you have the option to do this. You can just say import JSON RPC from JSON RPC. And now you have this object, which you can instantiate with this being yourself, so that we know to what backend to tie this. And if we see where this is being used, there I do a get data. So the get data here will directly translate to the get data here, which is this method here. And this method is not a streaming method. It's just returning one object. So in that case, we will just say then we return a promise, and in the promise we have this response where we can get the result from. This result here will be the object here. And if it's a POJO, it will still be just an object that is now available for you to use. Similarly, for the streaming, so this is, for instance, the streaming one. So I'm streaming the running status. Now I don't return a promise. I just return an on next, because this will just be called as data is streamed over the wire. And again, I get the same response back. So I get a JSON response back, which I can get the result from, and do something with it. What you do with it is actually just updating some or other variable. And this variable is being used in your template. So somewhere here is a render method here where we've built something. So this one actually is called this method. And somewhere here we started building some output and use the variables in there. And from now on, I just change the value of the variable, and that will update the screen automatically. It will update the DOM efficiently. This is what lit does for you. So you don't have to worry about updating DOMs. You don't have to worry about making a call using WebSockets. You basically just call this method on this object that you have. And this method is exactly the same method that you already use. I just want to see if we have an example with pass. Yeah, so here's one where we pass in a parameter. So pause job, for instance, will translate back to pause job here, which takes a parameter called identity. And that's how you pass parameters.
Where were you before? Just you lost me again.
Oh, sorry.
The pause job you had before was in the front end side, or
Yeah, so this is the front end side. So if I click a button, the button will eventually call this method. There must be something like this where we click, when you click a button, it's not this one, but if you click a button, pause a job, which is I guess this one. I don't know exactly which. This is pausing the scheduler. It seems like there's actually a button missing to pause this job. I don't know this extension very well.
Sure.
But yeah, there's some other button, or the execute button will execute a specific one. So there must be an execute somewhere. It's probably this one, passing in. But yeah, this is the front end side where some or other action button is calling this method, passing in the identity, which is just probably identifying the scheduler. And when I get the response, I'm either going to show whether or not it passed or didn't pass, because that's what it sends back.
Yeah.
On the server side, there's a pause job method, which is either going to pass or not, be successful or be or fail with the pausing of the job.
Got it.
Yeah. So it's basically just a way for a very easy way to call a method from the front end to the back end. Yeah, there's nothing more really to it. There's no more. There's no need for HTTP posts or HTTP gets or any of this. You just call a method and you get a result. And that method that you call could also be returning an streaming object, which is this observer that we have up here. It feels like I'm going too fast. I don't know. You must stop me.
The screen is a bit slow sometimes, but no.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I've mentioned some of the other things that's possible as a developer, as an extension developer. You can. So if you want to stream data to, let's say, this method here, you can. Let's say here, you can see here where I have static label. You can actually just pass in either a dynamic label, but now you don't pass in the label, you pass in the method name of the JSON RPC method that needs to be called. And that method will be called every time that card gets loaded to say get the value during runtime. Or you can say streaming label name, which means now we will dynamically update that label as data comes in. So your screen here, this part here can update automatically as data changes. So that's the streaming label. And the other thing that you can do is you can take full control of this card. So rather than using links with streaming labels or labels, you can just say, I want to take control of building this card myself. An example of that would be this one here. So here, and let me just show the front end for it. So that is this one here, which actually the logo doesn't look too nice on the white background. If you go back here, it actually has some logo here, and then it has this link that actually goes there, and it has the version number, which I think has been figured out on runtime or something. But to build whatever you want in here, we had an example where we actually had a chart in one of these cards as well, but we've removed it, I think, yesterday. But basically all that you do is you just say you also want to set a custom card. So now we won't default to the list of links. We will just say, call this web component. And in this case, the web component is just a normal component, right? That does something in this case. And now you can use JSON RPC. I don't know if this one does now. You can use JSON RPC if you want to make calls. You have access to build time data called pages, which is giving you those links that we used to just link. But yeah, you can basically do anything in the card now. And then similarly, you can take part in the menu. So an example of that would be, let me go back here. So that extension that I've built just to show how things work, this jokes extension, it also has this menu item here that if I click here, it also just loads one joke. And yeah, to do that, you just do a menu page build item, not a card page build item. But the rest is pretty much the same. And you can also add multiple pages to a menu item, but only one of the pages or the first page will be the one in the link, right? Yeah, so you can see there's only one link per extension here. But you can still have multiple pages linked to this. As soon as you click on it, the pages will just pop up here.
Yeah, so a lot of flexibility. Like we still try and keep the UI clean and not crowded. But you can, of course, once you're inside the extension, you can do whatever bad things you want to do.
Whatever you want. You can also do this. I forgot to show this. So if you need some more real estate, if you have a laptop screen that's very small, you might want to do this to just get some more real estate. So the other thing that I wanted to show is how the hot reload works. If you want to take part in hot reload. So like I've shown here that if a reload happens, like again, we can just simulate a reload here. A reload has happened. I think even here, if I go and shut down my server, bring in my server log here. So if I just shut this down, you'll see immediately, okay, so now it's starting to flicker here because it lost connection. If I start it up, the continuous testing is actually stopped now. And if I start the server up again, it will start up in the state of not started. So once it's started up, this will just update itself to say, oh, wait, I'm back to not started.
And that's because the browser page is like checking once in a while to see if it's back up or...
Yeah, that's what I wanted to show, how that works now. So to do that, I want to show, it's quite hard. Yeah, this one here. So this is the continuous testing extension. It's quite a big extension. But the difference here is that I'm extending QWC hot reload element and not lit element. QWC hot reload element just extends lit element. So you still have all the things from lit. So you'll see even in the import here, I also re-export HTML and CSS that came from lit element. So you really just replace lit element with QWC hot reload element. And now you have a method called, so apart from your normal render method, which is what you get from lit element to render the page, you also have a method called hot reload. And in my case, I'm basically saying, well, cancel my observer that is waiting for changes to happen as the test changes happen, and then restore yourself to the last known state and recreate the observers. But you can do whatever is needed, because this method will be called as soon as a hot reload happens by the framework. So as an extension developer, you don't have to care too much. You just need to implement this method.
Cool.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what I had prepared to show.
Okay.
I can obviously show anything else. I know it was probably all over the show, and I'm speaking as if everybody knows what's going on. But yeah, there is a whole bunch of videos on the Quarkus YouTube channel that I started recording. It needs some updating, and I need to add some more videos to it. But if you are an extension developer and you want to get into writing an extension, that's probably best resource at the moment. And then we'll obviously also still on the to-do list is to update the documentation properly for how to take part in this.
Yeah, we'll make sure when we upload the video that we have the link to the example and to the joke example and to the other playlist. And I'll ask the question. Now we have we can't go live because of whatever issue on the streaming platform here, but I'll ask the question that I know, but you ask every time you show Dev UI. Can I use this outside Dev UI?
No.
No. Good.
No, but because it's now component based, Dev UI itself can reuse parts. So as an example, all the charts that we show is just a component that anybody can use. And let's say you want even the log. So the log, for instance, is a component, and the test log is just a subset of that log, if you think about it, because it's just basically a filtered version of the log. So the code for this part here, if you look at the code for server log is quite involved, because the server log, you can see here on the side, is quite an involved piece of code that streams the server to the screen. And this is the test log, because I just extend that server log.
Yeah.
So
what you're saying is that the feature of Dev UI, which is these like the actual extension contribute, that is something we only have in dev mode because we don't want to have it in production. But you're saying that the components that the dev mode is using, people could pick up and use in their own front end.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
So we could get to a point where we might, let's say as an example, we have this, which is, I don't know if it's a good example, but just to give an example, where's my health endpoint now? Or did I remove? I removed it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Let's add it quickly back and actually see if my reload is going to happen, because this was the one that wasn't working properly. So let's save that. So now health should reappear as soon as this gets green again.
I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah, I see. Okay, so there's health back. So this UI here is an external UI that we've built inside small array health. I don't have any health endpoints, which is why it's empty. But I could change this UI to start having components, and then rather than pulling in the full-blown UI here, I pull in just the components, and then these components could be used outside of a Dev UI scope. I don't know if that makes sense, but we have this ability now to start sharing parts of the screen outside of Dev UI.
Very nice.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's it.
And the old Dev UI is gone and dusted, or is it still available, or what's the?
Yeah, it's still there. So yeah, it'll still be there for a while. Because like I said, there's a few things. This is the other one I was talking about. This this thing that you can do this with, and so that must still be ported. I know OpenID Connect must still be ported, which is one of the bigger ones outstanding. And then there's a few small ones, and then this is still outstanding. Build steps has got this chart here, which is quite useful. Yeah. So this still needs to.
Yeah. So in the 3.0 that we have, the new Dev UI is the default we redirect to.
Yeah.
And then we have the old Dev UI just, for the few pieces that are missing. But the goal is somewhere in the 3 stream to literally just, drop the old Dev UI. Once we have feature parity, we would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of duplication and a lot. Apart from duplication, there's a lot of not duplication. Like the old one is built in Bootstrap, where this is built with lit and web components and Varden components. So we have quite a lot of JavaScript stuff in Dev UI now, or in Dev mode now, that we can probably just halve the size of it if we just get rid of one of the UIs. Yeah,
which would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. But otherwise, I think we're on top of the hour. But basically, anyone try the Dev UI, give feedback.
Yep.
And yeah, it does look like feels snappier and it's more fun to look at.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those
Yeah.
things like I was fine with the old one, but once you get used to it, it's like,
Yeah.
What was that one you just showed?
Yeah, I forgot this as well. So every extension we will also show. This is basically just grabbing data from the extension YAML file.
Yes,
I
we get
can
all the
probably
data. Yeah,
I can probably format this a bit better, but yeah, this is new. This wasn't in the old one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then the guide is still there. All the other stuff that used to be there. Yeah. Well,
Awesome. Well, thank you, Philip, and
cool.
we'll take it in for a day, and I'll post this once I get access to the recording. So
Okay.
thank you.
Cool.
See you around.
Cool.
Bye bye.
Cheers.